once a date's agreed, contracts will be exchanged. If you're selling and buying on, you don't really have to do a huge amount. It's not like you've got to send any money anywhere. But bear in mind, if you're a first-time buyer, you do have to get some deposit monies over to your solicitor in advance to exchange contracts, because they will hold some deposit monies on account for you.
Yep.
To make sure that you are okay with it, because there is some legal ramifications to pulling out of the transaction if you don't exchange contracts. Because say it's legally binding at that point, it has to go through on that day. We have seen I'm sure you're the same, very, very rarely, I can think once in forever, have I ever heard of a time when contracts have exchanged and the completion didn't happen.
I had one in 2020, it cost him 75 grand.
Yeah.
It would have been cheaper to just move in and then sell the house.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's the point. You are legally liable for a heck of a lot of costs, loss of your deposit, that sort of thing. The one I've heard of was they exchanged contracts and then the customer died, which meant actually it was all very well, contracts had been exchanged, but they couldn't. The house, he didn't own the house anymore. The house was part of the estate, it had to go through probate. So that was the one time that happened, and I think everyone kind of just sucked it up because it wasn't a long chain. They were like, this is just a freak.
And it obviously wasn't anything intentional.
Well, no, it wasn't. So that it was, what can you do? Everyone was like, okay, yeah, we get it. And I think it was the people in the chain who were impacted managed to keep it going, and then it just ended up completing 3 months later. It wasn't a long chain. They just found a fresh house to buy because it was the top of the chain where it had happened. But in all seriousness, we have probably seen situations over the years where maybe someone's not very well or is terminally ill or starting to lose mental capacity and having to go into care, and actually that can push a bit of a time pressure on to get things done quickly, so everything's sorted and taken care of before bad stuff which happens. So sometimes there can be a bit of a time pressure to get things done. That's one extreme end of time pressure. There's other transactions where there's a time pressure, and we're going completely off piece here, but think about new builds, for example, where most new build developers, they always used to want to exchange contracts in 4 weeks. Well, a bit more tolerant these days, maybe 6 weeks, but they'll want to exchange contracts really, really quickly. But then you enter limbo for a couple of months whilst they build the house.
And push the time back because it's not completed.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that was causing real issues. Again, we go back to the COVID years where new build companies were selling houses so fast. They were selling stuff a year before completion, and when they said completion was going to be, so it was normally maybe 18 months by the time it was all done. And that was causing all sorts of issues with getting mortgage offers extended, because it's quite hard to get a mortgage offer that's valid for more than a year. Does often require reapplying and things like that. So yeah, that was causing some headaches. We don't see that so much now. I think the builders are a bit more, they're selling their stock that they think will complete 3 or 4 months down the line now, yeah, not 18 months down the line as the reality often was. But they are often very keen to get everything done nice and quickly, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It keeps everyone honest, put it that way. You can't sit on your customers' pay slips for a couple of days. You just need to get your applications in.
Yeah.
Yeah.